quite sure what colors I want to use on it yet. I have some vague idea in mind of doing the colorations that I've used on my Phoenix paintings in recent pieces. Originally, I was thinking to have him a forest green color and maybe make use of this sparkly green, these two greens that I have. They're from Artistic Isle. I haven't tried them out yet, and she sent me a few of these to give a test run. And I thought that those would actually make some neat colors for this. So I'm not really sure. I don't really know where I'm going with it just yet. And this is how it happens quite frequently with my paintings. I don't really have a true idea of the end color vision. I just paint, and as the colors intermingle, I get a better idea of where I want to go with it. And it's sort of one step at a time, you know. In this case, it was setting up all the background stuff just to give myself at least a basic direction for what I want the color theme to be. And it's turned out that it's mostly a greenish purple gold toned color scheme that I've got here, omitting any blues really, so that, as I mentioned, I don't end up with a complete rainbow of colors. So right now I'm just adding a base wash, wet and wet, into the dragon as a highlight color to start picking my other more detailed elements out of. And I'm starting with yellow and golds in the forefront and melding wet and wet into more purpley tones in the back, because I think I want the tail to sort of fade off into that ghostly look that I had for the foxes, that same sort of blended into the background approach. Starting with the dragon head, I think I'm going to start with some naphthalide maroon and bloodstone mix for something really dark. I want it to be the way I've done the shadow cats in the past. I want that sort of shadowy richness of tone there. So I'm going to mix up some of the color first in here in my palette. As I said, it's bloodstone and the naphthalide maroon. So really it's this dark purple leaning towards the warmer side. And then getting my brush pretty dry, I'm going to do this dry brush. Working from the snout upward. Also going to just use some neutral tint here, because I want it even darker than it is. It's looking more brown at the moment, and I want almost black. Painting around the eye. But that's pretty much the only element that I'm letting jump out from here. I'm keeping the edges soft, which is easy to do with the dry brush. So what I mean by soft on the edges is that I don't have any hard contours where the edges are, you know, like right here along the neck, interfacing with the surrounding. shifting mostly to using just the neutral tint at this point. And now I'm going to shift over to using, let's see, mixing in some diopside green into that neutral tint. Still working this as dry brush. But I'm feathering it out a bit more now. See, it's not as solid of a block of that dark color, and I'm letting that meld into the shadows of the individual scales now here. Using this neutral tint and diopside green mixture for the back claw, not the one that's closer to us, the one that's further away. And again, keeping the edges softer. Now I'm just taking water on my brush, drying it off a little bit, not so it's not drippy, but it's damp, and then brushing over everything to blend things a little bit. This mane, I think I'm going to take some ochre as a base. And what about the horns, the antlers? I think I'm going to continue with this dark shadowy look for those. This I'm not doing dry brush really. I'm just painting it as a glaze. As I'm moving down the body of the dragon, I'm switching my scale shading to a much brighter color. This is now a cerulean blue mixed with some green gold. And it gives me this very, very punchy, vibrant, bright green. I think Viridian green would also do the trick. I don't have any on hand right now. Or some phthalo blue mixtures. I'm working this up over the previous scales as well. And layered on top of the darker tones that I did with those, it creates a much more muted version of what I have further down, which is layered on top of yellow gold tones. And then I take my water on the brush and swipe across all of this. Softens and blends. And I repeat this process. Sometimes I layer other colors in to get a shifting tone slightly across the body. As you saw, I even did that even right here with the bright greens shifting into the darker tone greens over here. Adding a little bit of dry brush into this dark chest area. It just makes it more rich and full of other shades and tones when you see all these different colors layered and integrated together. Glazing a little bit of straight up sap green right now too. Now I'm going to take an opposite color. I'm going to take quinacridone red. Mixing a little bit of Payne's Gray into it to neutralize it a little bit. And then getting it just on the tip of my brush, and I'm using it in just some of the deepest corners of the overlapping scales. Not doing every single scale, just a few of them here and there. Blending. Taking some, let's see, this is Bloodstone, which is a warm shade of gray. And further defining the edges of the scales. taking my white gel pen and just adding a little touch of highlight on the lower edge of some of the scales. Now, just like with that red, I don't need to do every single one, because if you do every single one, then it becomes very flat and graphic. But if you just do a few highlights, a few touches of them, it's much more effective. And in this way, I'm just going to do all the scales along the body of this dragon. I'm shifting the color again here. This is much more of a sap green, bright green, more of like the spring tone to it than the viridian shade that I had in that part. And once again, I will also overlap some of those viridian scales so that there's a continuity in the color shifting, so that as you go from one color to the next, you can have this slight overlap of each one with the previous. Oh yeah, I wanted to try these Artistic Isle shiny paints also. Let's give this green a bit of a look. Trying to find some paper to do just a little sample dab of it on first, just to see what it looks like, because I haven't tried these yet. All right, so that's the green. By the way, this is what it is. It's Artistic Isle. She's on Instagram. All right, that's pretty. Let's try that other brighter green, see what that looks like, because I've got both of these shades going on in my dragon right now. So both of these could be usable. Yeah, that's nice too. How about this gold? It's like a yellow ochre gold. All right. I think I can make use of some of those. Going to use some of this green for a little bit of sparkle on these scales. Oh yeah, I like that. I don't think you can see the shininess of it right now with the angle of the camera, but later on towards the end I will lift and show this so that you can get a good look at the sparkly. That is just the perfect little touch that I needed here. Let me see if I shift my light, if you can get a bit of that effect. Yeah, you kind of get it as I move my light back and forth. That is a nice end touch. So I think I'll do the rest of the scales over here first before going back and adding a little bit of those sparkly highlights to these sap green scales, and perhaps in the further ones back here. I don't even know what color that's going to be yet. All I know is I want it to contrast with the purples of the background that I've got going down here. So it might go purple, it might go gold. We'll see. I'm at the stage now where I'm looking at the bigger picture of my colors and how they all work together. And I've decided that I actually want this whole back half of my dragon to be more of this ghostly purpley tones that I used on the foxes. So I could do it just by brushing water over and lifting a lot of this color out, but I actually want to maintain the detail, just maybe faded down, and the colors that I've got as well. So I'm actually going to paint white watercolor ground over this back half area of the dragon. It's going to be slightly diluted so that you can still see what I've got here through this layer. I'm going to start doing it right now. And as I mentioned before, painting white on top of an opaque white on top of something, on top of colors, gives it this milky, ghostly look, which is perfect for what I'm hoping to accomplish with this. Because I want it to have that ghostly feel. All right. Some of that Indian ink bits and pieces are causing black streaks, so I'm just blending those out. Quinacridone purple mixed with a little bit of bloodstone and actually some cobalt blue too. Dropping some more purple in here, wet and wet.